I'm Idiotech, and these are my first impressions of Mirror's Edge Catalyst for PC. So the game retails for $60 US, it's developed by DICE EA, and it's made in the Frostbite engine, and as a result, it looks and sounds fantastic. The game's visuals are very much the same as the original game, lots of bright colors, vivid, cool, futuristic skylines. And the combat and core movement mechanics and parkour systems are essentially identical. However, some of the systems have been gated by an XP-based progression system, which is relatively fair, and certain moves you may have been accustomed to in the previous game, you will gain access to very early in this game. They've also added a number of new mechanics, such as the mag rope, which is, for all intents and purposes, a grappling hook style system. So, overall, on a core gameplay and presentation level, the game's quite good, and I enjoyed my time with it. The problems come in when we start to discuss the changes they've made. Now, this time around, they've decided to make the game focused more on its story, and they've decided to add an open world design. If you've played a Ubisoft game or Mad Max or any other open world game in the past couple of years, you've played Mirror's Edge Catalyst, at least its main open world aspect. For me, it doesn't really work. The thing I loved about the original Mirror's Edge, aside from its aesthetic and its great soundtrack, was the uniqueness it offered in the form of a first-person parkour speedrunner. You would run from level to level to level, try and optimize your times, try and optimize your path, try and optimize the flow so you didn't make mistakes, and that would be incredibly rewarding, and you would try and score as high as you could on the leaderboards. That still exists in this game, however, it's a tiny portion of the overall product. They want you to pay attention to the story. Now, the story is terrible. The story in the first game wasn't particularly compelling either, but there wasn't too much of it, so it was okay. This time around, there's a metric ton of story, cutscenes, voice acting, dialogue, blah, blah, blah. Thankfully, you can skip it, and I suggest you do, because it is not engaging at all. Now, as for the other missions you would expect in an open world game, you can deliver packages. You can destroy security towers. You can do dash missions, which are your traditional time trial type experience, which is what I spent most of my time doing, as well as the main story missions. For all intents and purposes, you run from point A to point B in the fastest possible time. Now, that's fun, and I enjoy it, and the parkour mechanics are virtually identical to the original game, and I enjoyed the original game, so I enjoy these. But the story, the amount of filler content, the amount of downtime caused by this open world focus and the story focus really take away from the game what I think is its most unique and compelling aspect, which is the parkour. If I'm not doing parkour, I kind of start to get bored pretty quickly in this game, and unfortunately, in comparison to the original title, there's a lot more downtime. So that's kind of a major design fault. Now, some people were concerned about the progression systems, they were concerned about the online connectivity, whether or not it was an always online product. That is not the case, however, you are required to be online for leaderboard access, and you are required to be online for the user-created content feature. Now, that is actually quite good, and I do like it. Basically, you walk from point to point to point in the mission, or in the level, in the open world, and you can set markers and say, you need to go through this loop, and this loop, and this loop, and this loop to complete the course. You save that, you publish it publicly, and then everyone can try and compete. Now, the negative about that system is it has no kind of rating mechanic, so if you play a mission that someone else has created and it wasn't very good, then there's no way to say it wasn't very good and that people shouldn't waste their time on it, which I think is a design flaw, and they should probably address that because I did play quite a few user-created missions that were no fun at all. Now, creating your own, as I said, is very easy, so that's good, and it's a good way to add longevity and replayability to the title, however, a rating system is sorely needed. So really, I mean, what else have they changed? They've changed some aspects of the combat system. You don't have the option to pick up weapons anymore and fight the enemy that way. Instead, you can punch people, jump on people, and kick them in the head from two directions. There are different types of enemies, so you'll have enemies that are very powerful when it comes to melee. You'll have enemies with guns, you'll have enemies with batons, and you have to approach each of them very differently. We also have a dodge mechanic this time around, so you can dodge around the back of an enemy and kick him in the head. You can kick people off buildings that way, and you can dodge gunfire. So that's a nice addition, I guess. But overall, it's virtually identical to the original game, but they've added a lot more story, and they've added this open world design. And I don't feel either of those two things really help to enhance the game when compared to its original. And that's, for me, a problem. And it makes me kind of just want to go back and play the original game. Now, if you've never played Mirror's Edge before, you may find a lot to enjoy here. And if you're not opposed to open world design, you may also find this game very enjoyable. It does have a lot of content when compared with the original title, so that is a plus for it. But for me, I'm just looking for running mechanics. I'm looking to get that sense of mastery from nailing a challenge. And there just isn't enough of that in this game, and there is a lot of superfluous content, a lot of filler that no one really asked for, and I feel like it was just a design decision based on tropes, based on what's trending at the moment, which is open world games. It doesn't really serve the game in any real way, is what I'm trying to say. So did I enjoy my time with Mirror's Edge Catalyst? Yes. And no. It's not an easy game to give a definitive answer on. I think you're going to have to take a look at the game for yourself, maybe watch some streams, listen to some other people, and make your decision that way. If you found this video useful or helpful in some way and you want to support my channel, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.